All right, before we get to the transition of gameplay, I want to point out one thing, and I tried to articulate this in yesterday's video, or not yesterday's, but the video I did that's prior to this with the vivid mode. I seen some comments specifying that they felt like the A95K has more detail and color. That is not true. The beginning of the video, I try to talk to you guys. I know sometimes you might be eager to just kind of get to where you want to get in the video, but the talking points are important so that the person who's making the content can articulate what's happening. In person, the A95K does not have more detail anything. It is not. It's just that what's happening is the brightness in the A95L, it is just, my camera's not able to catch both of them exactly the same way, right? And that's why I told you guys I'm using a point and shoot camera. This is what I have. It's in 4K. But this is the equipment that I'm working with right now currently until I upgrade to something better. So, you know, this is this, and right now I have the color, I have the exposure set at neutral. Realistically, I need to turn it to like right here for the A95L to be able to show, for my camera to be able to pick it up, right? But it's clearly a brighter TV. It's clearly a brighter TV, and because the camera might be trying to do its best to focus on the bright details, I think it's going to be able to articulate what the A95K is showing better. But in person, there's no extra anything on the 95K that the 95L doesn't have. The 95L has the same level of detail, if not, it's actually more, and it's just brighter, right? It's brighter in those areas where it needs to be. So like, that ray of light that you see in this particular image, like it's darker on the 95K and it's brighter on the 95L. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. This is all the camera. All right, so what I'm going to do is attempt to just get the TV settings shown for both TVs, okay? So A95K, we're going to pull up settings. A95L, we're going to put up settings. Settings menus are different for these TVs. So got them both. The TV in Windows is set on HDR. Both of these TVs are in game mode, okay? Going to game mode on both of these TVs puts us in a position where we're going to have the lowest input latency, right? So we got that part figured out. Going to go to picture settings. I got picture mode on the A95L set on standard because it has different presets. There's an FPS and there's an RTS. There's nothing you can put on the A95K to replicate the presets that you get for the TV, right? Because the A95L just has newer options that the 95K doesn't have. I really wish that when these manufacturers did like these firmware updates that they changed the UI, bring it up to date to put you in a position where you can compare last year's to this year 1-to-1. So best we can do is just try to replicate and simulate, you know, like the settings that we've got going on. So when we go down to the brightness, and this is just all for reference, all this is just default, right? So brightness is at max HDR. It doesn't specify on the A95K, but you can see that it is in high dynamic range. It's just little subtle changes they've made, right? So brightness is at max, contrast is at 90. Again, this is default. So before anybody says, oh, will you turn this all the way up? It's default and they are the same, right? The gamma's at neutral, right? Gradation preferred, black levels at 50. Black equalizer or black adjust, right? Like they've coined them different things. They're both off. Peak luminance, right? Just showing you guys this. Let's go down to some colors. All this at default. Colors at 50. The hue is at neutral. Live colors turned off. The expert or the color temperature is set at an expert 1. I prefer that. The expert 2 is a little bit more warm. Let's go down to clarity. Sharpness is set at 50. Again, that's default. Go down to reality creation. Okay. Set manual, set 10. This is all default stuff, right? So these are the settings I'm going to use to create this content. We're just gonna play some video games in HDR. We're gonna play some video games in SDR also. At that point, I will turn, well, I don't need to turn anything off because the TVs, both of these has the ability to either just to play HDR if the game is in HDR and play it in SDR if the game is in SDR. But we've got the settings, so let's get to some gameplay. All right, we got Street Fighter 6 here. This is the main menu, Battle Hub. So as I mentioned in prior video comparison, when we have things set on vivid, whites are brighter on this TV on the above. Any type of colors that punch are going to be brighter on it also. Detail and brightness is going to stand out more. Latency's nice on this thing. Yes. Looks great. Both of them look excellent. Just a little bit brighter on the top. There's a little bit more detail that comes in from the actual game bar. I don't want to have to move the camera, but unfortunately I've got the 95K blocking the 95L. 95L tells you got what your color bit is. If it's RGB, BT 2020, you don't get that extra detail on the 95K. They've also added the, let me bring that back up. They've added the black equalizer on the 95L. They've got the picture mode presets on there too. So again, that's something kind of new. As well as you being able to turn a crosshair on or off. That's all going to be pretty present on both of the options. All right, we have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I am adjusting the brightness, taking it from max down to 25. This is a specific request that High Def made. And so, yeah, these TVs are both running in standard definition right now. So SDR is the setting right now. This game is not an HDR, it's an SDR. So let's go ahead and get it loaded up. All right, Shrine of Resurrection. You know, no matter how old a game is, try not to ever spoil it for anybody. Brightness is at 25. Picture is standard. SDR.
Take it. It will help guide you after your long slumber.
I'm seeing screen turn in both of these TVs. Let's bear in mind though, the PC is running through the receiver and being passed through from the receiver to both of these TVs. There is no screen tearing if you activate the right settings on both of these TVs, going directly from the source content or gaming PC in this instance. I'm not sure if this camera is going to pick up the tearing, but it's happening right, say about 4 inches below the heart. I don't recommend running any type of devices through a receiver unless you must. If you're going to be playing on a PC, run it directly to the TV. Let the receiver manage the audio side of things. It's not a preference. That is definitely a necessity if you can. And these both look amazing.
Link, you are the light. Our light. That must shine upon Hyrule once again. Now go.
Coming up to some brightness. Screen tears everywhere. But man, it looks great. All right, we've got Resident Evil 4 Remake here. We're gonna go through some brief settings. All right, this is in SDR 100%. I'm sorry, HDR 100%. We can see as much here. Can toggle that off and on. Okay, so for sure got that. To the graphics settings, our presets are actually on max settings. This processor I got is a little bit older. It's a 10th gen i7, but it is a 3090 inside. So yeah, so using about 14 gigs of the almost 24 gigs of video RAM that's on here. Just want to make sure I'm having the best experience just going through this little clip. All right, guys. Immediately I can see moonlight reflection hitting off Leon's jacket more. Let's go ahead and turn around and go back towards this lighting area. Again, just to validate, we are on high dynamic range. Looks absolutely perfect on both. You would not be disappointed with one or the other, let me tell you that. We haven't done any custom settings, everything's default. If you skipped past the introduction part of the video, everything is standard and neutral. Even Steven for the settings. Yeah, there's more pop in that red up top. It's some more brightness to the carcass. It's almost like the light is reflecting off of it more from the candles. Again, this game does have ray tracing, as you just seen prior transition. We turned everything up. Looking great. All right, guys, I had a great time making this video, man. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to offer me some direction as to what you'd like to see from a gaming perspective. What type of settings, some custom settings, if you have some specific settings in mind you'd like me to test. Let's just be conscious that running the same source from a PC to both of these does require me using the receiver in the way that I am. And from my findings, there's just some inconsistencies when trying to activate like VRR, you know, with both of these. I mean, like I said, I ran the same receiver in testing and comparing the A95K to some other TVs, and it worked. But when running both of these, just doesn't seem to work well, and it's resulting in like some screen tearing, which isn't a big deal for me because all that matters really for these types of videos is the picture quality. This is shot in 4K. The highest I could produce this is 30 frames per second. That's just what I'm limited to right now with my equipment. So if there's a specific dynamic range or title that you'd like me to download or test, you know, let me know. From a gaming perspective, I am going to shoot another one of these comparisons with some film content, with some more movie stuff. The video that we did prior was vivid mode, so this obviously is tagged as it is some SDR, some HDR gaming with standard mode. So just let me know in the comment section what you're interested in seeing. Please consider sharing the content for support, liking the content. You know, we got all those ways you can support me. It's appreciated when you guys do leave comments, if you do appreciate the comment or if you like it. And if you feel like there's something that could have been done to execute, you know, better, then leaving constructive criticism helps too. It all plays a big role. In any event, I'm gonna get this rendered, posted up to you guys, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace, God bless, and as I always say, max love.